Hi everyone, my name is Natalie. Today I want to do our February announcement for Invisible Cities reading project. So all of the information you need about the Invisible Cities will be in the description below. I will link the original announcement as well as some helpful links like our Discord community. Like usual, we always announce the countries we have for a particular month 2 months in advance. So today I'm announcing the 2 countries we are going to be reading from in April, which are Iran and Zambia. So I am really excited about this because I've been wanting to focus in on Iranian literature for a long time, so that is probably going to be what I focus on. But like I usually do with these announcements, I wanted to share some titles I've been looking at potentially reading for each of these countries, and I will choose what to actually read when we get closer to the date. So first up, I wanted to recommend some books for Iranian authors because I have read a few that I've really loved and that I wanted to shout out. So the first one is My Uncle Napoleon. This is, I think, a mid-century classic. So it's a modern classic and this was translated from the Persian as well. And it's a family saga, family story, and a comedy, and there's something so fun and colorful and dynamic about this. All of the relationships in this book, all of the intricacies of this family unit, and I think it's an interesting book to get a sense of Iranian history and culture, especially how sort of the pre-revolution era. The other one we have that is in translation is Enlightenment of the Greengage Tree by Shukfi Azar, and this was nominated for the Booker International a couple of years ago. I can't remember the exact year. So this book is looking at the revolutionary period of Iran, specifically right after the revolution, and the consequences that it had for the people living, so the citizens and the communities. And there is definitely a strong theme of death in this book, and mourning and loss. So mourning for everything that is lost in human lives and in culture, in way of living, in history. I think also the magical element fits into the storytelling tradition of this country. So again, a strong recommendation. Another book that I would recommend is Brown Album by Proshista Kakpur. And this is an Iranian American author, and this particular book is an essay collection where she talks about being Iranian American and some of her specific experiences of that, as well as a lot of other things. But I really love this essay collection and would recommend it. And then the last of my recommendations is White Blight, which is written by Athena Farrokhzad. And this is a poetry collection that was translated from Swedish. So this author, I think, was either born in Sweden or moved to Sweden quite young. But she is Iranian, and this poetry collection again looks at being Iranian in a Western country. I love the format of the poems themselves. There's a constant presence of a mother, father, brother, aunt, uncle, and grandmother, I think. And what they're saying and their perspectives and how they all weave together to form this chorus of voices that sometimes are completely contradictory, and what the narrator has to navigate through. So I have chosen just a few that I could read for Iran. So we have The Blind Owl, which is a classic from the 20s, I think, and I've wanted to read this one for quite a while because it has been described in terms of being sort of Kafkaesque and all of that existentialist stuff, which is something that always appeals to me, and it's one of those classics that I know that my dad thinks is important, and that has also been referenced in something else I've read last year, Until Night and Day. Beisua talks about this author as well. So this is one I would love to get to finally have an excuse to get to. And then we have Disoriental by Nigar Javadi. I don't really know what this one is about in any detail. I think that it is sort of not a coming of age story, but a very close character study, and that it somehow weaves in the narrator's relationship with her father. At least that was the impression I got from the beginning of the book when I started reading it a long time ago, or just sampled it really. But I know also that Michael from Knowledge Lost loved this book, so I've been meaning to get to this one again for a long time. I think this one was translated from the French, but it is an Iranian author. The next one I have as an option is again translated from the French. So this is My Part of Her by Javad Javaheri, and this one is set before the revolution, and I think exploring some of the shadows or the sensing of something coming, sort of the ramping up of the revolution, but it is also supposed to be a love story of a young man falling in love with someone. The last of my options is something that actually comes out in April, and this is Let Us Believe in the Beginnings of the Cold Season by Furu Farrokhzad, and this is a New Directions publication. This is a classic female poet from Iran, that I think has been published before in English translation, but no new edition for a long time. And so when I saw that this is one of the things that New Directions is publishing this spring, I was immediately intrigued. And yeah, it's poetry by a female poet, so that was all really I needed to be interested to check this one out. It says, readers will thoroughly treasure this expansive poet of the quotidian, of longing, loss, and desire, of classical reinvention, of lexical variation and sonic beauty, of terrifying wisdom, hope, and grief. Then we have my potential books for Zambia. So like I said, I am fairly certain that I will focus on Iran because I have already wanted to spend some time exploring authors from this particular country for my own personal interests. So I'm just going to use this month to delve deep into that. And also I might actually do a video on some other Iranian recommendations, like particularly movies, that I've actually seen quite a few now. So let me know if you're interested in that. But anyway, I have looked at some potential books I could read for Zambia as well, just in case I get the time. So we have Kumakanda by Kayo Chingonyu, and this is a poetry collection again. Between two worlds, ancestral and contemporary, between the living and the dead, between the gulf of who he is and how he is perceived. And I've heard quite a lot of buzz around this book. That is the reason I'm curious about it. And as I've mentioned in my goals video, one of the things that I'm trying to do this year is to read more poetry. So that is also one of the reasons I have a particular eye out for that. Another option I have is The Old Drift. That is a novel by Navali Sirpel. And this again is a book that I've definitely seen reviews of. I don't remember if they were positive or not, but this is one I saw through my library. It says, on the banks of the Zambezi River, a few miles from the majestic Victoria Falls, there was once a colonial settlement called the Old Drift. Here begins the epic story of a small African nation told by a mysterious swarm-like chorus that calls itself man's greatest nemesis. The tale, a playful panorama of history, fairy tale, romance, and science fiction. So yeah, that definitely sounds of interest to me as well. But then the one that I'm most interested for Zambia is called Dead Aid by Dambisa Moyo. And clearly this is a nonfiction book talking about social issues, and just the title itself is pretty self-explanatory what this book is examining. Sounds fantastic to me, and definitely something that I think would be valuable reading. So this is one that I would like to get from my library and try to squeeze into April. Moyo offers a bold new roadmap for financing development of the world's poorest countries that guarantees economic growth and a significant decline in poverty without reliance on foreign aid or aid-related assistance. Dead Aid is an unsettling yet optimistic work, a powerful challenge to the assumptions and arguments that support a profoundly misguided development policy in Africa, and it is a clarion call to a new, more hopeful vision of how to address the desperate poverty that plagues millions. So that was all I wanted to say today. I would love to know if you have any ideas of what you could read for Zambia or Iran. If you have any recommendations, definitely let me know in the comments. I hope you're doing well and you're taking care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you soon.